Kate Bush went through hell and back to become a successful pop star goddess. We all remember her for today. But as soon as she found unequivocal fame, she withdrew herself from the world and fell off the face of the earth for almost 30 years. Why? The real reason is not what you're thinking, and we'll prove it in this video while showing you some of her rare photos. If you listen to Kate's childhood story, you might be forgiven for immediately thinking she lived a perfect, privileged upbringing. But actually, her childhood was by no means just sunshine and roses. She was born Catherine Bush on July 30th, 1958, to wealthy parents Robert and Hannah. Her father was a doctor, and her mother a nurse. By the time she was 3 years old, Kate was completely in love with music. She soon learned how to play an old organ that her parents had kept in a barn at the back of the house, and she also taught herself how to play piano and violin. By age 10, she was already writing her own songs and music. In fact, she wrote one of her most famous songs, The Man with the Child in His Eyes, when she was just 13. But for a devastatingly sad reason, Kate kept her love for songwriting a secret from everyone else outside of her own family. Why? Well, up until now, her childhood sounds like it was the perfect fairy tale, right? Maybe it was at home, but at school, little Kate's life was a nightmare. Kate remembers school as a cruel environment. She was a self-described loner and was often picked on. Her schoolmates ignored her completely and alienated her. I learned to get hurt, and I learned to cope with it. Kate found solace in music. Since the other children pushed her away, she lived in her own little world and retracted from social life, never attending dances and all the other fun things that kids love to do. And that's also why she kept her love for music to herself and never shared it with any of her schoolmates. I never told anyone at school that I did that because I feared it would alienate me even more. At 15, Kate had written over 100 songs and had become a musical force. Friends of the family were so impressed that they sent one of Kate's recordings to none other than Pink Floyd guitarist David Gilmour. He was immediately struck by her raw talent and paid for a professional recording session out of his own pocket.
Dave Gilmour put up the money for me to make a proper demo with arrangements and selected songs, and we took it to the company.
At the time, Pink Floyd was signed with EMI Records. While working on their 1975 album, Wish You Were Here, David gave Kate's recordings to the record company and asked them what they thought. Their answer was short and simple, and to the point.
And they said, yep, thank you, we'll have it.
In 1976, EMI signed Kate to their label. She was still in school and suddenly faced a difficult decision: drop out of school and risk everything on a career in music, or stay in school and miss out on the opportunity of a lifetime. I knew I had to leave school then. I had to get away from the alternative career opportunities being rammed down my throat. For the next 2 years, the record label slowly eased her into her career. She studied dance, finished a mock version of her school levels, and honed her skills as a performer in a pub band. Even before her fame, she was already terrified of singing for an audience. In 1978, her first single topped the charts. The song, Wuthering Heights, was based on the characters from the Emily Bronte novel of the same name. Kate was just 19 and suddenly became an overnight superstar. She was even called Britain's most promising female singer. The following year, she released her first studio album, The Kick Inside. The album was a chart topper in the UK, Australia, and all across Europe. The world had never seen anything quite as strange and at the same time as profound as Kate Bush. Everything about the young singer left her audiences perplexed. Her eerie, ghostly vocals, her strange lyrics, and her haunting, dreamy dance routines. Fans weren't sure. Was she a musical genius or a mad woman who had lost all her marbles? Whatever it was, fans the world over were going crazy for her. It was extraordinary how everything changed. It happened. It was instant. It was frightening. Kate's face was plastered everywhere. Newspapers, magazines, on the sides of buildings, in shop windows, and on the sides of public transport. The sudden fame was utterly overwhelming to her. It's no secret that for pop stars, looks are important. This was no different for Kate, and she hated that she was being turned into a sex symbol. Magazines and newspapers put more focus on her appearance than on her talent. People weren't even aware that I wrote my own songs. The media just promoted me as a female body. It's like I've had to prove that I'm an artist. Just as soon as she shot into the spotlight, she would disappear from the public almost completely. Even though she vigorously kept recording and producing music, she did only one tour, and then faded into obscurity. There were many theories as to why she dropped off the face of the earth. Some thought she had a nervous breakdown. Others thought it had to do with her body image. More shocking theories were that Kate was battling substance use. And yes, Kate did experiment with pot, but she never did any hard or dangerous stuff. Simpler theories involved claims that she was scared of flying or that she suffered terrible stage fright. The latter was plausible since Kate had been open about her insecurities on stage, revealing in an interview once, "I do have the odd dream where I'm on stage and I've completely forgotten what I meant to be performing, so they are more nightmares than dreams." But what was the real truth? Well, the answer isn't so straightforward. A list of tragedies and personal struggles ultimately pushed her into hiding. The first of those tragedies happened in 1979 when she was just 21 years old. Kate had just started her UK and European tour, the Tour of Life, when the unthinkable happened. While doing last-round checks of the stage to ensure that everything was perfect for the show, Kate's lighting director, Bill Duffield, suffered a fatal accident. The 21-year-old technician fell through an unlit open panel on the stage and landed on the concrete floor nearly 20 feet below. He was rushed to hospital, but sadly succumbed to his injuries a week later. The incident had a profound effect on Kate. In the aftermath, Kate held a memorial show for Bill and also wrote 2 songs in his memory, Blown Away and Moments of Pleasure. However, Kate would never do another tour again. By the end of the tour, I felt a terrific need to retreat as a person. After the Tour of Life concluded, Kate vanished. Her own excuses were that the record label was destroying her own identity with the ways that she was being promoted and advertised. I felt that my sexuality, which in a way I hadn't really had a chance to explore myself, was being given to the world in a way that I found impersonal. So, she removed herself from promotional events and campaigns. I stopped doing all the things that were expected. Kate also said that touring took too much of a toll on her, both physically and emotionally. But a scary dark time followed in the years after the tour, and Kate became even more and more withdrawn from the public eye. First, she had to cope with confusing personal changes. I think it's a very important time where there's some kind of turning point. In your teens, you get the physical puberty, and between 28 and 32, mental puberty. It does make you feel differently. Then, she lost 2 close friends to AIDS-related illnesses. As if that wasn't enough, Kate's mother also lost her battle to cancer. To rub even more salt into her wounds, her 15-year love affair with the band's bass player, Del Palmer, also crashed and burned. Kate found new love with another musician named Danny McIntosh, and the couple got married in 1992. Together with the new man in her life, she ran away to the countryside once again to hide from her grief. But maybe it's not so true what they say that time heals all wounds. At least it wasn't true for Kate, and the grief finally caught up with her. Around 1994, she had a breakdown. "I spent a lot of time sleeping. I needed to be in a position where there were no demands. I was just trying to recuperate." To escape from reality and the pressures of life, she spent countless hours just watching bad television shows, hoping to take her mind off everything that was hurting her. But Kate's saving grace wouldn't come until several years later. In 1998, when she was already 40 years old, Kate welcomed her first and only child, a boy named Bertie. Already a recluse, Kate retracted even further from public life yet again. Her son was her #1 priority, and she put everything else, even her career, on the back burner. Despite having all but disappeared from the world after her first and only tour, Kate kept pushing out hit singles and chart-topping albums. Including her first album in 1978, she has released 10 studio albums, 2 live albums, 2 compilation albums, and 36 singles. Kate released her last studio album, 50 Words for Snow, in 2011. But in 2014, she shocked her fans when she came out of hiding to do a concert residency at the Hammersmith Apollo in London. The residency was called Before the Dawn, and it consisted of 22 dates and saw almost 80,000 fans turn up. While fans loved it, Kate was overcome with nerves. "Once we started running the show, I had to be absolutely in that moment. But I was so terrified that if my mind wandered off that when I came back, I wouldn't remember where I was." In early 2023, Kate's song, Running Up That Hill, suddenly reached 1 billion hits on Spotify and landed millions of views on YouTube. All this was thanks to it being featured on the hit Netflix show Stranger Things. Suddenly, Kate Bush became a household name with Gen Z, almost 40 years after the song was first released. No matter if you think she was a crazy mad woman or a musical genius, one thing is for sure, Kate Bush's music is timeless. what about her personal life surprised you the most? If you enjoyed this video, there's a good chance you'll also enjoy the one showing on your screen right now. Click, enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you on the next one.